Okay guys, I'm back here in the boneyard. Before I can head home tonight, I really want to get this little 58. I want to get this thing fired up and move it around front, get it in the shop. As you can see, the rear tires are, yeah, they're flat. They're flat and they're actually starting to seep into the earth. So we need to get these things aired up and fire this car up and move it around front. Now, we're about probably 150 feet from the nearest hookup for air. So I could drag out all this hose and we could air the tires up that way. Another option is, let's see, my portable air tank that, according to this label here, should have been discarded in December of 2008. So that's probably, you know, it's a decent little air tank. I take it with me on some of my VW rescue adventures. Usually it runs out of air before I ever use it. Or we've got this that our friend Bonnie sent us. Let's see what's in the bag here. Let's see what's behind door number 3. Okay, so like I said, our friend Bonnie, she checks out our YouTube channel. She has seen that we've done a couple of reviews, and so she sent us this neat little gadget. Comes in this nice little carry case, and it's this handy dandy little double cylinder air pump. Now she sent me this, asked me to review it and just basically give us our honest opinion on it. Now, first of all, it's compact. I like that. I mean, you could put this pretty much anywhere in your car. It's got these, if you don't have a cigarette lighter, which most of my Volkswagens don't, it's got these 2 leads you can connect to the positive negative cable or terminal on your battery and run it off of that. I'm actually going to use my DSR Pro Series jump box. It's actually got a gauge on it already. I haven't tried this yet, so let's just give it a whirl. Looks like this just screws on to the valve stem. I like that it's got a gauge here. All right, let me go grab my jump box so that we've got power, and we'll try this thing out. We'll see how long it takes to get this 165 R15 up to 35 psi. Okay, we're all hooked up to power. This is the AUDEW air pump. I think I'm pronouncing that right, AUDEW. I'll put a link down below so you can go check it out. But let's fire this thing up first of all, just for fun. Let's get the timer here. And I'm going to hit the power at the same time that I hit the start button here. We'll see how long it takes to fill this tire up. We're at about 10 psi. Okay, we're at 1 minute in. Probably about between 15 and 20 psi. We want to run this tire up to about 35 psi. I mean, you can see it's airing it up pretty quick. The compressor's not super noisy. I've seen some of these little guys that are just obnoxious, really noisy. A little over 20 psi there in a minute and a half. 2 minutes in, we are at about 30 psi. Okay, that looks like that's about 35 psi, 2.5 minutes to get this tire up to 35 psi. Not bad, I guess I should stop that. But about 2.5 minutes, and we got this little 165 R15 on this bug up to 35 psi. Let's run this thing back around. The nice thing is it's got lots of cord on this power cord. So you could run that up, hook it up into your cigarette lighter, and pretty much access all 4 of your tires. Also got a little bit of cord here. I'm gonna unhook this, we'll swing around to the other side, and we'll air that tire up. Okay, here we go. Take 2 on the AUDEW air pump. Just thread this on to the valve stem. We already know, but let's just do it one more time just for fun. Tell this bug's been sitting a while. I mean, look at this dirt. This tire is just starting to sink into the ground. We're about 20 psi there, a minute in. Look at this thing. I mean, it's dual piston compressor, super lightweight. It's pretty quiet, really. 25 psi at a minute 45. Generating a lot of heat. It's a little warm, but I mean not really that bad. We're at 246. We're at about 30 psi. Gauge is a little hard to tell. I mean, you can see here it's got 25. notches before it hits 50. We're probably in the 35 PSI mark right about there at 3 minutes 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and shut it off. Alright, so this is a pretty small tire. You know, I've got a flat tire over here on this 65 Velvet Green. It's our fire bus. I've got a flat tire on the front of it. It's a bus tire. A lot more volume. Let's drag the camera over there and see if we can get that tire to take some air. Okay guys, check this old tire out. This is an old bias ply Goodyear. I mean, look at this tire. Super cushion. I don't know if you can see that in the video or not. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this will take some air. Actually, not in too bad a shape. We've got the AUDEW double cylinder air pump here, and we're now going to try to air up this front tire on this 1965 Velvet Green fire bus. Let's see how the pump does. About 25 PSI, a little more than 25. You can see that gauge. We got 25 and then 1, 2, 3, 4 notches, and then we're at 50. So, you know, somewhere that first and second notch is about the 30 to 35 PSI mark. The practical applications for this thing, I mean, when you're out in the field rescuing an old Volkswagen, I mean, you're either dragging tires in there with you, or a lot of times these old bias ply tires that are on these cars, as long as the bead is sealed, you know, a lot of times they'll take air. So if you're back in trying to drag an old car out, this thing would be great. I mean, take this little compressor, hook it onto a tire while you're working on getting the car ready to roll out of wherever it is. Just leave it, let it run, and you know, get your tires aired up. There we are. I mean, we're 35 PSI right there. so you can hear that. This thing's got a valve stem leak, so that's why this tire goes flat. But I mean, yeah, that thing aired it up pretty quick. So if you're out in the middle of, you're out in the middle of a field trying to pull some VWs out. I mean, a couple months ago, I was up in Montana, and I drug in like 8 tires, 8 wheels and tires, 8 good tires to haul these 2 bugs out. If I would have had this little guy, I could have just hooked it up, ran it. I mean, honestly, it's a little warm right now. That's 3 tires that we just aired up with it. Hang on just a second. Okay, let's pop back here. We'll do one more. So we've done 3, pretty much back to back. It's only been a minute or 2 since our last one. I've got the compressor here. This car right here, this 66. This is one, I was up in Montana. It was way back in a field. I had to shuffle wheels and tires back in there on the back of a 4-wheeler. And then actually a couple of my tires weren't holding air. And so then I had to pull the tires off of this car after I got it on the trailer. And I had to take the good tires back and put it on the other car to get it out of there. This valve stem is crusty. All right, now look at this tire. This tire is hammered. This is one of the tires that was on these cars back in the field in Hamilton, Montana. I had to drag these cars out with a 4-wheeler, and the worst part was having good tires to put on there. I thought I think I had like 5 or 6 good ones. 2 of them ended up losing air before I got up there. But you can see this tire is cracked, it's crusty. This tire has been sitting in a field for probably 20 years at least. Let's fire it up and see what happens. Now, like I said, this thing is getting a little warm. It's obviously not designed just to sit there and pump all day long, but we've done, this is tire number 4. Let's fire it up and see how it does. So if I had had this pump when I was up there in the field, again, I wouldn't have had to jack the car up, remove a wheel and tire. Hey, by the way, check out that nice original paint wheel. That's pretty fancy. Anyways, some guys are into those. But if I had had this pump, I could have just aired these tires up, drug the car out of there. I wouldn't have had to jack them up, remove the wheel. I mean, that took a lot of time. It took a lot of my time just doing that. If I would have had this AUDEW air pump, I could have just hooked it up, aired up the tires, drug the car out of there. Now, I'm thinking like how I can use this thing. You think about the way you could use this thing. I mean, put it under the back seat of your car, put it in your 4-wheel drive vehicle. If you're up in the mountains and you pop a bead or something, you can pull this thing out from underneath the seat and air your tire back up. Another thing you could do, take it with you to the beach, air up all your inflatable toys that you're using on the water. Or maybe, you're out at a soccer game, need to top off a ball, pull this thing out. I mean, it's really not a whole lot bigger than an actual hand pump. All right, we're up to 25 PSI on this crusty old tire. I mean, check out the weather checking on this thing. But again, if I would have had this AUDEW air pump when I was in the field, man, it would have saved me so much time dragging these cars out. This is tire number 4. We've done 4 tires now. We did the 2 165s on the 58. We did I'm not even sure what that bias ply was. Pretty good sized tire, probably the equivalent of like a 195, 75. We're up to the 30 range, 30, 35. This thing's feeling good. Okay, we're gonna shut her down. Another valve stem leak. Just a little bit of a leak. I'd probably need to cap that, you know, or if I was just dragging it up onto the trailer. So let's check this out. So I'm just checking this piston here to see. It's around 90 degrees. I mean, it's warm, but it's not overheating. You know, I kind of thought it would maybe generate more heat than it does. That's a good sign, because, you know, if you got one of these little pumps and the thing's just burning up after you air up 3 or 4 tires, chances are it's probably not going to live. But I mean, there's really nowhere on this thing that's too warm to touch. All right, guys, so that's the AUDEW air pump. We're kind of losing light here. Like I say, end of the day, I need to get home. Comes with the hose, the gauge, which I like that the gauge is right on there. It's got the pump itself. It's probably got, I would say, close to 8 feet of cord here, so you can easily reach most of your, you know, most vehicles from your cigarette lighter. You could reach all 4 of your tires. This thing's nice and compact. It folds up, goes into this little carry case. You put this under the rear seat of your car, stow it back by your spare tire. I mean, it would easily stow inside the wheel on a spare in the trunk. And I mean, basically, you ever get in a pinch and you need to air up a tire, you're out in the middle of nowhere, save you a call to AAA or to a tow truck. I mean, check that out. Nice little bag that it goes in. I know what I'm going to be using it for. I'm going to be using it for airing up old crusty Volkswagen tires. And I'm probably going to be taking off a lot less wheels in the field. More than likely, I'd just be able to air stuff up, drag it out, drag it on the trailer, and drag it here back to the shop. But I want to say thanks to Bonnie for sending us this AUDEW air pump to try out. It's Volkswagen approved. I highly recommend it. It's definitely going in our vehicle with us from now on when we're on the road. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later. Okay, time for, I guess, the bonus footage. Everybody's like, wait, I thought you were firing up that 58, right? So let's see if it'll fire up. Fuel lines all look good. We can grab a little fuel. Man, we ran out of light really quick, didn't we? I can hear this tire, this left rear tire, I can hear it hissing. It's going down pretty quick. Might have to fire up that old air pump and top it off one more time. Basically just filling the bowl here. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's getting any fuel. Could be empty. Alright, I think the bowl's full. Give it a little shot right down the throat there. The old air cleaner. All right, fire in the hole. But look at that, folks. We got to shut this bad boy down. We need some new fuel lines before we go anywhere with it. Man, that line looks good too, doesn't it? But it is definitely not happening. We'll shut that off right now. Check that out, guys. Change your fuel lines. And if you don't want to change your fuel lines, at least run one of these so that people can let you know when you're burning down. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.